What's up, YouTube, Facebook, and all other social media outlets? It's your boy, Uncle Fred, back in the house again. One more time. This gathering information and content, man, it's a full time job, but I love doing it. Go ahead and hit that like, comment, and subscribe. Become a part of the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Got a few things, cowboy things to talk to you about, and a couple NFL noteworthy items to talk to y'all about and share with y'all because Uncle Fred gonna make sure y'all get all the stuff. You gonna get my perspective as it relates to it. So first, as you see, I got my Cowboys hat on, so I'm gonna start off with Cowboy news because because Cowboys is what's up. All about the Cowboys. Then the NFL, because Cowboys run the NFL. Uh, First thing I'm gonna let y'all know is the coaching staff stays intact. Uh, Look, man. Uh, Dan Quinn, who was believed to have gotten one of these jobs either from Denver or Chicago or I know he wasn't looking at Jacksonville, but I know he was looking at New York too because he's from New Jersey, um, and so we thought maybe the Giants job might interest him as well. But he went on several interviews and all of them, and you know, like a boomerang, he came back. So now we don't have to worry about trying to figure out who goes where in our defensive coaching staffs and any of that stuff. Looks like they're gonna remain the same. Okay. Same thing with Kellen Moore. Although he does, I did read somewhere where he has a second or third interview with the Miami Dolphins. I think it's just a courtesy thing. I think they got their mind set on Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator from the Buffalo Bills, who worked with Tua at Alabama, and and so he has some knowledge of that. And I've also heard the rumor mill that the Dolphins are also looking to pick up what's the wide receiver? God, what's the wide receiver's name? Was it Alabama? Calvin. Yeah, it'll come to me in a minute. Played at the Falcons and he had to take some time off to get his mentals together. And I from Alabama too. Okay, your Uncle Fred and names. But yeah, they're looking to pick him up too, and so we'll see how that works. But anyway, but yeah, Kellen Moore didn't get any of those. Like I say, he's gonna look at Miami. I don't know when that interview is set up for, but I just believe they're looking at Brian Dable. So we'll see how that goes. So, as you know, we do know that the Bears and the Broncos made coaching hires, and we'll get to that at the end of the segment. So, what that tells us is all the coaching staff comes back intact. Okay, now, what does that mean for the Cowboys? See, now I think this is breeding ground for Jerry to do some high stakes psychological warfare, if you will. What do you mean, Uncle Fred? Well, I mean that, we know that Jerry really wants Sean Payton to be the coach. Okay. But, would that really be fair to Mike McCarthy? I mean, look, I mean, they did lose unceremoniously, but San Francisco also beat Green Bay unceremoniously. Green Bay looking to run off Mike LaFleur. No. Now, if he do this a couple more times, yeah, they didn't get the Super Bowl last year either, or the year before. 13-3, 13-4 records, and they failed to get to a Super Bowl. And so, but anyway, but I think Jerry let it be known he wasn't happy with some things, wasn't happy with the penalties, which points to discipline and that sort of thing. and he also not happy with the ineptness of the offense down the stretch, and those sorts of things. Those are things they hope to fix. Now, here's where the psychological warfare from Jerry probably will come in. Now, he's already played some of that even now, because it's just, I think, today or late yesterday that he finally has said, because he's been mum since the playoff game. Now, I know Steven had said, oh, yeah, I'm fully confident it's going to be Mike McCarthy. And, you know, like I said, I hadn't heard anything from the other vice president. I hadn't heard anything from him, but you heard from Steven. Calvin Ridley, that's the wide receiver's name. That's why my mind works. Calvin Ridley. But no, we hadn't heard anything from him. So it's just up until like yesterday when Jerry finally said, well, yeah, we're going to retain Mike McCarthy. Well, and I'm going to tie all this together. See, Jerry doesn't seem to understand when he does these little things, the ripple effect of these things. Okay. Dragging Mike McCarthy out a week past the playoff loss and not saying anything. What does that do to him and his confidence, the coaching staff? And they're all on pins and needles because the coach leaves and the staff, probably certain parts of the staff, leave also. Because if you get a coach, he's going to hire his own staff, right? Nobody wants to be a coach and somebody's picking your staff. You know, you're not going to, sabotage or set me up for failure. If I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail with my own stuff. But anywho, and then of course now what I'm thinking Jerry's going to do, the psychological warfare he's going to play, is that anytime there's a rough patch in the season, every time there's a rash of penalties, anytime there's a 2-game losing streak, you think the coaches and stuff, he not going to maybe make it implied that, I can always just go and get Sean, or, not even say it, but he's thinking that. And the ripple effect is like this. Now, how do you think players respond to a coach when they feel like that coach is a dead man walking? What kind of effort you think you're gonna get out of them? Yeah, that's what I thought. They're gonna have AWS, and they're gonna kind of because they know, hey, what authority you got? You gone after next year. What am I gonna play hard for? And every little nagging injury, ain't no coach. I'm kind of, and you're not gonna get the best effort. So while Jerry thinks he's helping with these little mind tricks and stuff, and I don't even know that he's gonna do that. But I know how much he wants Sean Payton, and I know how disappointed he was with Mike McCarthy. And I thought if he was disappointed with it, just break him off and get Sean Payton and be done with it. Let him hire his staff. That means everybody's gone. Let this coach hire his own staff. You get out the way, okay? So, but yeah, and see when with Jerry, and I think this is some of the parts about the problem where we've had issues for the last 25 years. All of the head coaches are inept. They are, they're eunuchs. They don't have any power. They don't have any control over the 53. They don't have any draft, say or any of that sort of stuff. So if you know that the head coach don't have are you going to play hard for him? Are you going to be afraid when he comes in the room or comes to practice? And is he going to command that kind of respect? No. You see, Jerry don't see that. The dynamic has to be intact, and he kind of comes in between that. But he don't see that because he only sees his own ego and what he wants to do. And he knows the other owners don't operate that way. But anyway, the whole coaching staff stays intact. Now, the positives of that is, I'm gonna try to give you both sides. The positives of it is nobody has to learn everybody. Okay, everybody should be comfortable with each other. Dak should be comfortable with Kellen Moore. He's been with him 4 years now. We'll be going on 4 years. 19, 20, 19, 20, and 21. This will be his 4th year with Kellen Moore. And this will be the 2nd year with Dan Quinn in that defense. I'm looking for that defense to be even better. So it's positives and negatives. But but if they get out to a good start and play hard and jump out to a 6-0 or 7-0 or 5-0 or whatever, nobody will remember all this. So we'll kind of see. Now, here's another thing. I put this in my trailer if y'all read it. Now, as it relates to Sean Payton, and I don't know if this is a rumor or conjecture. A lot of times you can always come back and say something later that we tried to do this back here, but you can't prove that. But this is the rumor. Rumor has it that Jerry Jones wanted Sean Payton even back as far as 2019. And there was a deal in place to acquire him from the New Orleans Saints, which means draft capital and or picks and cash considerations, whatever the case might be. Okay. All of those things have been negotiated. Okay. After the 2018 season. Okay. Or 2019 season, excuse me. And so we know after the 2019 season, that's the season that we missed the playoffs. And also, isn't that the season that the Saints got jobbed out of the playoffs by the Rams? Yeah, I believe that is so. Was that 18? That might have been 18. Yeah, that might have been 18. That might have been 18. Yeah, that was 18. Okay. And so, and a deal was impacted. Okay. But what ended up happening, according to the rumor, Mickey Loomis, who was the general manager, who still is the general manager of the Saints, but at the time he was also general manager of the Pelicans. Okay, and they had already lost Anthony Davis to the Lakers through LeBron James, and his insistence with Rich Paul and Clutch Sports. Putting the pressure on AD, signing him to Clutch Sports, and then, serendipitously, getting him to back out of his contract and, basically, forcing his way out of there. And so, according to the rumor, Mickey Loomis didn't want it to be on his docket or to be on in his resume that in the same calendar year he lost both AD, the biggest basketball prospect and name for the Pelicans, and the biggest football prospect, which would have been Sean Payton, in the same year. So they nixed the deal. We'll lose this one. We ain't gonna lose that one. So you can blame Rich Paul and Clutch Sports and LeBron James for us not getting Sean Payton back in 2019. I don't know. Believe it or not, but that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying now. Since then, they have hired 2 other guys to be general manager. That's currently David Griffin for the Pelicans, but it's still Mickey Loomis. Because the Bensons own both franchises, the Benson family. So there's that. Now, other Cowboy news, and we're gonna get into some other NFL news. I don't know if y'all have heard it or not, but there is a supposed Twitter battle going on between Dak's brother Tad and Dez Bryant. And I'm going to tell you what my take on it is. Because, I'm going to give it from my perspective, maybe an older gentleman's perspective. And maybe not, maybe, some of y'all's, look the way y'all would look at it. And the way I look at it is like this. What was said supposedly is that Dez, who still, former Cowboy, played from the Cowboys from like 2010 to 2017. Yeah, 8 years. Leader in touchdowns, like he has like 75 touchdowns, all that stuff. He said something to the effect that, and here's my thing. This is my thing. I just don't know. Let me tell you what he said first. I'm jumping around. He basically said that he thought that maybe Dak and Kellen should go to Tony, as in Romo, and kind of pick his brain, kind of, because it's obvious Tony Romo, if you listen to his telecast, he kind of knows, like, okay, this setup here, this is what you're gonna have. And most of the time when he calls, that next play be exactly what he says. Now, I don't know why he didn't have all that when he was playing, because he threw a lot of late game interceptions. If he's seen that like he see it now, he probably should have known that, but I digress. So he's basically saying, Dak, you ought to, go to Tony Romo and basically ask him about how to play quarterback. But that's not how he really meant it. Now, of course, Tad, who's Dak's brother, came to his defense and basically saying, this ain't got nothing to do with you. Dak ain't asking nobody for nothing. Basically, like, he ain't got to ask Tony Romo about how to play no quarterback or nothing like that. And see, I think that was the totally wrong way. But the whole point is, why would you voice something like that on Twitter? Dez and Dak know each other. They got some business ventures together, from what I understand. So pick up the phone and call Dak. Well, instead of putting it on the air for everybody to see. Because then folks react the way they react. And now, I think Dez got a point. Not only Romo, I think they should go to Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman got some ideas. Look, man, can't nobody tell you nothing about nothing unless they done been where you been. And I tell young folks this all the time. If I done been where you've been, I can tell you something about where you're going, because I've been there. Now, could Romo tell that about how it is to be a Cowboys quarterback? Yes, because he was a Cowboy quarterback for 10 years. All right. From 2011 years, from 2006 to 2016. Okay. Troy Aikman was a Cowboys quarterback for 11 years, also from like 1989, although he didn't play until 90, to 2000. So both of them have played and have won games, and Troy Aikman perspective, won championships. Hell, he could even talk to Roger Staubach. He in Dallas. Okay. So there's a wealth of knowledge available to you. Now, I would lean more to Romo and Troy Aikman, more Romo than Aikman, because the game has changed to a certain degree since Aikman played. But Romo just finished playing 4 or 5 years ago. It ain't changed that much in that amount of time. And then as he's calling the game, he's telling what kind of defenses these guys are in. And he said, look, I would go to this right here. They're going to probably run this kind of set right here. Now, and that's something for Kellen to be, because I know some of these guys think they all in their arrogancy, they're all in their ego, and I don't want to ask another man how to do it. Dude, don't nobody know it all. All right? Nobody knows it all. It's not a weakness to ask for help if you need it. And obviously, the offense has had issues with certain things, certainly with better teams, better schemes. So why not consult with some people that may have a better advantage point than you do? Nothing wrong with that, okay? If I was Kellen and I was Dak, you know what I would do? Sometimes over this offseason, I pick up the phone and say, hey, Tony, it's Dak and Kelly. Hey, man, look here, man. How about, man, we go grab a couple of brewskis and maybe a couple of pizzas. What kind of pizza you like or wings you like. And we'll go over to the facility and we'll break down some film for a couple of days, for maybe 2, 3 different days. Break down some stuff. Go over some concepts. Share what you do and what they do, and kind of figure out some things and see if it can something that can benefit you, make you a better offensive team, better offensive coordinator, a better quarterback. Show you, some things you may not have seen because they've done this before. And maybe even grab Troy. Troy knows some things too. I don't know what's the harm in that, but people all in their ego. Oh, that makes me feel like I'm small if I have to ask another man how to do something. Bible says pride goes before the fall. You're just gonna continue to stink it up and come up short in big games rather than ask somebody for help that can possibly help you do your job better. You know, that's why they say men never ask for directions. They be lost as to a ball and high weeds and won't ask for directions. Okay, when I'm putting together something, I'm looking at the instructions. That's why we having screws left over and don't know where they go. But I digress. But anyway, that's what that Twitter beef is all about. That's my 2 cents of it. I got a problem with Dez going to Dak on Twitter talking about that, or however that was, rather than just pick up the phone and call Dak. Hey, Dak, man, look here, man. You thought about this? Look, man, I know maybe you and Romo maybe didn't, but you know y'all both have the same interests at heart. Romo wants good things for the Cowboys, okay? Just like you do, okay? Aikman wants good things for the Cowboys, just like you do. So we got a common interest. So how about let's have a power lunch and kind of go over some stuff. Maybe there's some things you can show me. Then maybe I can show you why we do it this way, and we can come up with something. I just think it can't do nothing but help. Okay, couldn't do nothing but help. But that's basically all the Cowboy news I got today. I'm gonna open my partition up to the rest of the NFL. NFL news. First thing I'm gonna talk about is the Chicago Bears, and I kind of had some issues with this because the Chicago Bears had an opportunity to hire Dan Quinn. Had an opportunity. I don't know if Brian Daboll applied for that job or Bieniemy applied for that job. And these guys, and the reason I mention those guys is because those, except for Quinn, those are offensive head coaches. And I know a lot of times teams go off alternate. If you had an offensive head coach, you go defense. If you had a defensive head coach, you go offense. And basically they kind of did that. But here's my thing. And the Bears hired Matt Eberflus. Okay. And first thing I want to tell you is the Bears basically did something I have never seen done before. Okay. They replaced their GM and head coach and didn't change anything. Huh? Right. They ain't changed nothing. Well, they changed the last name. That's it. Right. Because the GM, they replaced Ryan Pace with Ryan Poles. 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 He was a deputy player personnel director with the Kansas City Chiefs. African-American gentleman, too. I think he's like 38 years old or something like that. One of the few African-American GMs in the NFL. I think Barry, Chris Greer in Miami, Barry in Cleveland. And there's a gentleman in Pittsburgh, Khan, not African American, he's a minority. There's not that many of them. So anyhow, so they replaced Ryan Pace with Ryan Poles, and they replaced Matt Nagy with Matt Eberflus. So replace Ryan with Ryan, replace Matt with Matt. I thought it was interesting. Anyway, Matt Eberflus is a defensive coordinator. Used to be defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts from 2018 to now. And the Indianapolis Colts had a top 5, top 10 defense for most of the time he was there. Colts have been known to have a good defense in the time that I can't remember the coach's name now. Names is coming and going. Has been there. Frank Reich. Since Frank Reich has been there. And so he came into the league as a linebackers coach with the Cleveland Browns from like 2008 to like 2010. And then he was a linebackers coach with the Cowboys from 2011 to 2017 under Rob Ryan. Because Rob Ryan was the defensive coordinator at the Cleveland Browns, and I guess either he got let go fired or what have you, but then he left and went to Dallas because they hired him as the defensive coordinator. And I think Eberflus was the linebackers coach from 2011 to 2017. Then he left there from 2008 to 2018 to 2021 as the defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, reason I think this is an issue is because you got a young, up and coming, promising, raw, athletic quarterback. Don't you think you might would have wanted to get it? And then before you come to me and say, well, they had Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy didn't seem like he knew what he was doing when it came to him. He was putting Fields in some bad positions and calling some, long developing plays and stuff, and not really featuring the running game and rollouts and bootlegs and high percentage stuff, the stuff to get your confidence and stuff up. Seemed like he wasn't doing that for him. So I didn't like Matt Nagy. I didn't think he was good with them. Now he did go to the playoffs twice, and he did take Mitch Trubisky to the playoffs and Nick Foles to the playoffs. They were 9-8 and 8 and 8-9 or whatever. But here's my thing. And it was something that Colin Cowherd, I was watching his show, and I was like, yeah, that do make sense. If you got a young quarterback like that, and you bring in a defensive head coach, this means he's got to hire him a strong offensive coordinator to work with the young quarterback. And you got to hope he don't do too good of a job. Why do you say that? Because if he do too good of a job, in 2 years, they're going to be plucking him away, and he's going to be plucked away for some head coaching job. Kind of like what Brian Daboll is being done for Josh Allen. Because rumor has it he's going to be either the Giants head coach or the Dolphins head coach, which means Josh is not going to have him. So what will probably happen is they'll move the quarterback's coach up to OC, and maybe that'll be okay. But people don't realize Josh Allen was raw when he came to the league. Athletic, strong arm, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. A lot of times that stuff can be corrected with footwork, mechanics, and that sort of stuff, getting your balance, that sort of stuff, and, making sure you're on the balls of your feet and making sure your feet are evenly distributed, all that kind of stuff is important. Your fundamentals are important. Sometimes when people don't do your fundamentals, everything is kind of off just a little bit. But if you notice now, his form is good. He's accurate, and I believe that Brian Daboll worked with that kid and got him like he is now. And for 2 years, he's been an MVP candidate quarterback. Now, what happens when Brian Daboll leaves? Now, he might retain a lot of that stuff, or he could resort back to what he was doing before he got there. But if you hire an offensive head coach, he kind of sets the standard or the foundation for what the offensive principles and stuff that you're going to, and whoever comes and goes, that's the standard. Okay. If you hire a defensive head coach, his influence is going to be on the defense. He's going to kind of leave the offense to the offensive coordinator. And then when they leave, you got to bring in another guy. He's probably going to bring in another system. So I just thought that maybe, I would thought Brian Daboll would have been a good coach. Eric Bieniemy would have been a good coach. Nathaniel Hackett might have been a good coach to bring in, but they went Matt Eberflus. Who knows? We might, we'll see who he brings in as OC. But I just thought that was interesting that was the choice they went with. They went with Matt Eberflus. Apparently, he was very impressive in the presentation. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. They brought in Ron Poles. Like I said, he was the deputy director of player personnel for Kansas City for 13 years. And then he got this job here, and he beat out some other guys from some other organizations and to get that job. And so, hats off to Ron Poles. Hope you do a good job, buddy. You ain't gonna have a long exit ramp there, but hope you do well. I'm pulling for you, definitely pulling for you. Now the talk of the day is the Denver Broncos. Now I thought they was gonna tab Dan Quinn, but I'm kind of happy they didn't. So our defense stays intact at Dallas. Because I mean, if they had got him, then we'd have had to overturn a whole bunch of things on our defensive staff, and may have been some lack of continuity. But they hired that guy. He was supposed to have had another interview with Jacksonville, but Jacksonville kind of got their stuff in the tizzy too, because it was reported that they were going to hire, Jacksonville was going to hire Byron Leftwich. They all but said that, but then they have not, because apparently he and what's the GM's name? He used to be GM of the San Francisco 49ers. They couldn't get together on the particulars. Maybe the power, get over draft 53, the personnel, but anywho, they couldn't get that, so that's still in the air. But anyway, Nathaniel Hackett was supposed to have gone back, but he decided, but Denver went ahead and grabbed him up. Nathaniel Hackett was the offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers from 2019. 2019 seems to be that magic year, don't it? 2019 to now. And in those 3 years, they've gone 13-3, 13-3, 13-3, and have scored 137 touchdowns, 160 touchdowns, which is second in the NFL under his leadership. Okay, of course they did have Aaron Rodgers, but anywho, but yeah, they scored 160 touchdowns. I'm sorry, and 37 only had 37 turnovers in 4 years. Okay, that's less than 10 turnovers a year. That's like a half a turnover a game. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Not bad at all. Okay. Prior to that, Nathaniel Hackett, he's the son of Paul Hackett. Now, because I'm, north of 50, I know Paul Hackett. Paul Hackett was the offensive coordinator under Bill Walsh for the San Francisco 49ers, and it was one of the architects of the West Coast offense. And we know Bill Walsh is the architect, is the builder, the founder, the Don Dada of the West Coast offense. One of the best coaches in the history of the NFL, too. I put him right below Bill Belichick, but right there, what Bill Belichick is for defense, Bill Walsh was for offense. God rest his soul. He died a few years ago. But Paul Hackett was his offensive coordinator. Back in the mid-'80s, they brought Paul Hackett to the Dallas Cowboys. I remember him being brought there like 1985, 1986. And supposedly they were bringing him there because these are the years Tom Landry was kind of on his way down. He eventually would leave after 1989. It was believed they brought Paul Hackett there to take over for Coach Landry when he retired, because he's going to bring in that system. I remember that first year that he was there, they had a injury. Danny White had gotten hurt, and then they brought in Steve Pellure, and they had Herschel Walker, and they had Tony Dorsett, and they had Drew Pearson, and they did okay, but eventually in 1989, we know Tom Landry was pushed out, and the Cowboys was bought by Jerry Jones from Bum Wright, and that he brought in his old staff. So Paul Hackett went to Kansas City and some other things. So Nathaniel Hackett is his son. Okay, he actually was a linebacker, and he a linebackers coach, and so he's on the other side of the football now. He's a offensive coordinator. He was he was picked by Matt LaFleur to be the offensive coordinator in Green Bay in 2019. Prior to that, from 2015 to 2018, he was at Jacksonville. From 2015 and 16 as quarterbacks coach, and 2017 and 18 as offensive coordinator. He was the one that kind of got Blake Bortles together. Had them a couple of plays away from going to the Super Bowl in 2017. Many folks don't know that. Okay, that was under Nathaniel Hackett. Okay, And so he left there and came to um, came to Green Bay. But prior to that, he was at I believe he was at Cleveland also. Buffalo, excuse me, he was at Buffalo under Doug Marrone, and then he left and went to Syracuse with Doug Marrone, and then he followed Doug Marrone from there to Jacksonville. Okay, and so Doug Marrone's right now at the University of Alabama, and so that's just kind of interesting how that whole thing. Brian Daboll been at the University of Alabama in Buffalo. See, that's kind of like that circle. I'm digressing, but anyhow, he's now the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Now, why that is fascinating is when you start looking at who he hires his staff. He wants to hire this guy named Adam Stalovich. Stanovich, okay, who is the Green Bay Packers running game coordinator. Okay, why is that important? Because it's going to be the second year in a row that the Denver Broncos have been rumored to be in the process or in the market for a quarterback, and a quarterback that currently resides in Lambeau Field in Wisconsin, who just had a disappointing loss in the playoffs and may be pondering his future. Oh my gosh, who could that be? Could that be one Aaron Rodgers? Could that be him? Would that be someone? And one might say, well, why would he leave Green Bay and go to Denver? Because it was been said, man, if his best bet is to stay right there in Green Bay. See, getting Green Bay's offensive coordinator means the offense that he's going to set up is going to be something that Aaron Rodgers is very familiar with. Okay. All right. So it was said that, well, he could just stay in Green Bay. He's in a bad division. He can win it every year. In the NFC, he got an easy run to the Super Bowl. It hasn't helped him so far, though. But Tom Brady's probably retiring, and really, other than who? Maybe Matt Stafford and Dak Prescott. What other good quarterback are you gonna face? Maybe Kyler Murray, but I think they may have some issues. I mean, you got an easy run to the play. Man, if you go play for the Broncos, man, you got a rough go to get out of that division. Kansas City is in that division. Los Angeles Chargers are in that division. The Raiders are in that division. Okay. Now he comes in. He would be probably, in my opinion, the second best quarterback in that division. But he gonna get a Devontae Adams. But let me tell you what Denver got. What Denver can boast. Now, when he go, if Aaron Rodgers were to do this, okay, let me tell you what Denver has to offer. And wide out, Denver's got the weapons they got. He got Tim Patrick, big, strong, physical wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy, great route runner. KJ Hamler, okay, and tight end Noah Fant, just about as athletic a tight end as he's ever had. Running backs, you got Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, who I think is going to be the odds on. You can run that two-back set. Then you got a defense. Of course, there's no Von Miller, but I mean, you got Patrick Surtain Jr. at corner, and you got Bradley Chubb, and that defense. Big Fangio left that defense intact. They just didn't have a quarterback. That team's ready to win if they just put in the right quarterback. And then this is the coup de grace. The Denver Broncos have over $50 million in cap space and 11 draft picks. Woo! You talking about a haul. So if they wanted to get Aaron Rodgers, they got enough draft capital to trade for him, and they got enough cap space to take on his salary. You understand what I'm saying? And I wouldn't mind seeing that because I think them Denver, Kansas City games would be epic. Okay. And Aaron Rodgers gets all his creature comforts. He's his offensive coordinator, his head coach, and his running game coordinator, his offensive coordinator. Okay. All of the things that he knows and loves. Because he got to have all his things all nice and comfy, cozy. So Aaron could, otherwise he's going to pitch a fit. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting, though. That was just interesting. Denver Broncos, who they selected. There was other candidates, but this guy has some attachments to him. Getting Nathaniel Hackett means we got a shot at getting Aaron Rodgers if he so chooses to leave. And if you'd add Aaron Rodgers to that roster with the resources that they have at their disposal, what they win, 9 games, 8 games this year, 8, 9, 9 and 8, something like that. They win 13 games next year if they bring Aaron Rodgers. Easy. Okay. But that's what's on the horizon right now. So we'll talk some more about that. And the other thing in the news is once it was made official today that Ben Roethlisberger, star quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, announced his official retirement today after 18 years in the NFL. In his 18 years, Ben Roethlisberger threw 418 touchdown passes, which is his 8th all-time. He's thrown for 66,088 yards, which is 5th. He's also 5th in attempts and completions, 5,440 out of 8,443. And he also, his 165 wins in his career is the second all-time for one quarterback on one team, second only to Tom Brady. Okay. He's also a 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback, winning Super Bowl. I want to say 47 and 45 and 48, maybe. I'm guessing. But it was 2005 and 2008, and it went back in 2016 or 17, excuse me. And they lost that one. But he came a whisker of winning all 3 of those. He lost that one to Aaron Rodgers, the only one Aaron Rodgers has won. Okay. And Roethlisberger, the first ballot Hall of Famer. And man, I mean, big Roethlisberger was a kind of a precursor, if you will, to Josh Allen. Not quite as athletic as Josh Allen, but he's about 6'5", about 240, 250. Seen many times in the pocket. Guys would be all over him. He'd shrug them off of him, get about an extra 3-4 seconds, heave a 40-yard pass downfield for a touchdown. Seen it many a time. Not as athletic as Josh Allen does it, but he kind of was the precursor to the Josh Allen. Josh Allen could kneel on the goal line and throw it to the other goal line. So anyhow, but anyway, that's all I got. We covered all of the coaching changes, GM changes, Cowboy news, all that sort of stuff. And let's just and I think there's going to be more. Yeah, you're right. There were some dark times between Bradshaw and Ben. I mean, you had Bubby Brister, Tommy Maddox. Although Tommy Maddox is pretty good, just couldn't stay healthy. You had what's my man's name? He played all the positions. God, what is his name? The guy played all the positions. They used to call him Slash. Cordell Stewart. What's the guy's name that threw the interception again, the 2 interceptions against the Cowboys? Had him, Neil O'Donnell. So yeah. So there was a lot of different quarterbacks, and then they got Ben. They struck gold, and he's and is believed, I know he didn't win 4 Super Bowls, but statistically, probably the best quarterback in Steelers history. When you look at the totality of the thing, we do know that the game is different now than it was in the 70s. There are quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame from the 70s and the 80s that threw more interceptions than touchdowns because the game was different than it is now. Go look it up. Joe Namath has more interceptions than touchdowns. He's a Hall of Famer, probably a first ballot. The game is played different. Now it's like add out every down, and they changed the rules so completions are easier to come by. So it's a whole lot easier for a guy to get 300-400 touchdowns than it was back in the day. There's some guys in the Hall of Fame now with 165 touchdown passes. So that's just the way it was. Definitely gonna need a quarterback with a little mobility. That's the way this game has changed today. But anyway, that's all I got from the desk of Uncle Fred. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll probably be back in the next day or so to kind of look at some other, because there's 7 other head coaching jobs that are available that need to be filled. It's Jacksonville because they're playing around with Byron Leftwich. With I can't think what that GM's name is, but it's Toby something. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But they've been going back and forth with that. The Giants haven't hired anybody. The Dolphins haven't hired anybody, and Saints still got to hire somebody. So there's still quite a few coaching jobs that are still available. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. But I'll be right here for you with the information. As soon as I get it, I'm gonna try to get it to you. So you guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. Become a part of the Raiders. I couldn't think of the Raiders and the Texans. That's probably gonna be Josh McCown's job. Book it. That's gonna be Josh McCown's job. Watch what I say. Okay. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Become a part of the Uncle Fred Experience. Promise you won't be disappointed. We'll catch you guys in the next video.